So we have 32 people that have been killed so far, 7 individual strikes. We know that the Colombian president is alleging at least that an innocent fisherman was murdered. We know that there's a family from Trinidad who's saying that a member of their family was killed. And then it is really important that we have repatriated 2 people, one to Colombia, one to Ecuador, because that indicates that we don't have any evidence to prosecute them, that we didn't know who these guys were. Because if you did have evidence, you would bring them before a court. And I know that you're going to make fun of me, and I am prepared for it each and every day. But drug traffickers also have rights. The law applies. We should have the evidence. They should be charged with something, and they should come before a court of law.
If there was to be any mention of Trump's unlawful military attacks on Fox News, then it would rely solely on Jessica Tarlov being on a panel. And the deafening silence that followed her point on this very matter is telling. They have no response or excuse.
When you kill someone, if you're not in a declared war, which we are not, Congress with the war powers, you really need to know someone's name at least. You have to accuse them of something. You have to present evidence. So all these people have been blown up without any evidence of a crime. They're also saying that it's about fentanyl, and people who analyze the area are saying that there is drugs that go through, but it's mostly cocaine and marijuana that are headed actually to Europe and to Africa. So the government story is not adding up.
It's a rare moment when the truth penetrates the white noise on Fox, right? You know, the network currently running segments on how hamburger helper are making a comeback as we nosedive towards a recession.
And last but not least, one trend and true brand is making a big comeback as consumers tighten their wallets. And here it is, hamburger helper. A mix of mac and cheese and ground beef is seeing a surge in sales.
Honestly, they're just writing Adam McKay's next movie for him. They'd literally run a segment on how nuclear war isn't that bad. It can help top up your tan.
Can I just go back to one thing on the small business side? Because my mom is in a small business. She imports from Canada. We've talked about this many times. It's uncomfortable. It's not been pleasant. Her pricing has gone up. Regardless of what's been instituted or not, the anticipation of it has the suppliers bringing the prices up.
During a roundtable on the 5, Tarlov brought up the string of military attacks on small boats in the Caribbean that the Trump administration are touting as acts of strength. Meanwhile, even Republican senators like Rand Paul are going after Donald Trump, accusing him of authorizing unlawful military attacks. And, well, the fallout is shaking both the GOP and the U.S. military as a whole.
President Trump has authorized military strikes against suspected drug boats in the Caribbean. As you know, so far, more than 20 people, Senator, have been killed in 6 different strikes. Do you believe that these strikes against these suspected drug boats are legal?
No, they go against all of our tradition. You know, when you kill someone, you should know if you're not at war, not in a declared war, you really need to know someone's name, at least. You have to accuse them of something. You have to present evidence. So all of these people have been blown up without us knowing their name, without any evidence of a crime. And for decades, if not centuries, when you stop people at sea in international waters or in your own waters, you announce that you're going to board the ship and you're looking for contraband, smuggling, or drugs. This happens every day off of Miami. But we know from Coast Guard statistics that about 25% of the time the Coast Guard boards a ship, there are no drugs. So if our policy now is to blow up every ship we suspect or accuse of drug running, that would be a bizarre world in which 25% of the people might be innocent. The other thing about these speedboats is they're 2,000 miles away from us. If they have drugs, they're probably peddling drugs to one of the islands of Trinidad or Tobago off of Venezuela. The idea that they're coming here is like, it's a huge assumption, and really shouldn't you have to present some proof? It is the difference between war and peace. In war, though, you don't ask people's name. But if they want all-out war where we kill anybody and everybody that is in the country of Venezuela or coming out, that has to have a declaration of war. It's something that is not pretty, very expensive, and I'm not in favor of declaring war on Venezuela, but the Congress should vote. The president shouldn't do this by himself.
I mean, let's look at the response to these attacks, right? You have a sitting Republican senator openly calling out the president over potentially illegal action, and you partner that with the fact that a 4-star admiral has decided to step down basically as a result of this. It's clear we're not getting the full picture here.
Well, I think that there's always a choice, and you're right about the demand issue. And I wish that we could do more about that. And this has been going on forever, that we have a drug consumption problem here and a drug supply problem coming from South and Latin America. So I totally get that. But when you're looking at how this fight is being executed at this particular moment, it doesn't make a lot of sense. First and foremost, the fact that no one can confirm that we've actually been taking out narco traffickers or huge drug traffickers, however you want to say it. And last week when we were talking about this, Dana had just seen the alert that the admiral in charge of the Southern Command had resigned. And he was the one who was in charge of this. And the reporting is that he wasn't comfortable with the mission and had been pushing back within the Pentagon. And do you think he would have resigned if everything was by the book? So we have 32 people that have been killed so far, 7 individual strikes. We know that the Colombian president is alleging at least that an innocent fisherman was murdered. We know that there's a family from Trinidad who's saying that a member of their family was killed. And then it is really important that we have repatriated 2 people, one to Colombia, one to Ecuador, because that indicates that we don't have any evidence to prosecute them, that we didn't know who these guys were. Because if you did have evidence, you would bring them before a court. And I know that you're going to make fun of me, and I am prepared for it each and every day. But drug traffickers also have rights. The law applies. We should have the evidence. They should be charged with something, and they should come before a court of law. And Rand Paul was on the Sunday shows this weekend, and he said to Kristen Welker, when you kill someone, if you're not in a declared war, which we are not, Congress with the war powers, you really need to know someone's name at least. You have to accuse them of something. You have to present evidence. So all these people have been blown up without any evidence of a crime. They're also saying that it's about fentanyl, and people who analyze the area are saying that there's drugs that go through, but it's mostly cocaine and marijuana that are headed actually to Europe and to Africa. So the government story is not adding up.
While on Piers Morgan, Rand Paul laid into President Trump's administration for conducting these strikes against alleged drug smuggling vessels in the Caribbean Sea without what Paul argues is the constitutionally required legal process, saying, quote, "We don't blow up boats off of Miami because 25% of the time suspicion is wrong."
Number one, there is no fentanyl made in Venezuela. Not just a little bit. There's none being made in Venezuela. These are outboard boats that, in order for them to get to Miami, would have to stop and refuel 20 times. They're in all likely going to Trinidad and Tobago, which is an island right off of the coast of Venezuela. So there's a lot of reasons to be worried about this. But number one is the broader principle of, when can you kill people indiscriminately? When you're at war. That's why when we declare war, it's supposed to be done by Congress. It's supposed to be thoughtful. It's supposed to be debated. And we're not supposed to do it willy-nilly. And then when you have war, you just kill people in the war zone. And even then there are rules of engagement. But interdicting drugs has always been a criminal activity and a criminal anti-crime sort of activity, where we don't just summarily execute people. We actually present evidence and convict them.
Trump, of course, responded swiftly via Truth Social, calling Paul a, quote, nasty little guy and a sick wacko. He's yet to comment on how Alvin Halsey, commander of U.S. Southern Command, announced his retirement for December 2025, less than a year into a typical 3-year assignment. Now, according to reports, Halsey raised concerns about the legality and strategy of these boat strikes, questioning whether the operations follow chain of command or international law.
This morning, the military commander overseeing the Pentagon's escalating attacks on boats off Venezuela's coast, that he is retiring. This is barely a year into his role, his time in that role. And one source tells CNN that tensions had been simmering for weeks between Admiral Alvin Halsey and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and that Hegseth did not believe the admiral was moving aggressively enough to take on and target alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean. There have been at least 6 U.S. strikes on boats, alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. The latest one disclosed just yesterday. Some of the crew on board that boat are believed to have survived that strike. Also this week, President Trump confirmed that he is now authorizing the CIA to operate covertly inside of Venezuela, linked to all of this. But he did stop short of saying that the intent is regime change. Venezuela's president disagrees.
And you'd think that in 2025, more outlets would be concerned with the fact that the United States keeps blowing up fishing boats and just calling it justice, and we're supposed to take them at their word. But remember, we were told we were overreacting, right, when we warned of Donald Trump exploiting the military when he got in charge.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.